Hello Aries, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be looking at all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section we'll be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross watcher, just know this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Aries, we're going to jump on in. We're going to start with overall energy for your side, their side, and then the truth in between the connection. And then we'll dive deeper into the reading with tarot as we progress. But first, let's start with your energy toward the person you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. This is for Aries side of the connection, please. Aries energy toward the person they are dealing with. Your energy toward the connection. You have connection. You feel very deeply connected to this person. That's what I said you feel very deeply connected to this person. And then I kind of heard this, and that makes it so complicated. And then you have this forgiveness card. I feel like this person is somebody that, it's obvious that this person means a lot to you. And I think that they have had an impact on your life in a way that a connection hasn't really ever had before, which makes it really easy for you to forgive them. Now, forgiveness is not a bad thing, right? I think that forgiveness is something that is very beautiful, but where we start getting into trouble is where we find ourselves, experiencing the same behavior over and over again, right? Because the only real apology is changed behavior. So I feel like there's something about this connection that is a little bit, it's almost like it's your kryptonite in a way. Almost as if like this person is a little bit of like your weakness. And I'm not saying that you're weak or anything like that, but I do feel like this connection impacts you more than other connections ever really have in your life. So yeah, it makes it extra complicated because it's like in the past, maybe you would have walked away by now, or in the past you would have like never put up with certain things, but because it's this person and because it's this connection, it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to navigate. This person's energy toward you. Synchronicity. Huh. Whoa. Okay. How does this play a role? Because then you have this person is shattered, trapped, and dead end. And then fate here on the bottom. This person is heavily drawn toward you too. And I feel like that's kind of what this synchronicity card I feel like is really bringing forth. I feel like this person, sees you everywhere, is truly thinking about you, like all the time. But the decisions that they make, the way that they show up in this connection, it's like their actions don't match their feelings here. Because with the shattered card, I feel like this person carries certain beliefs about themselves, beliefs that they are broken, beliefs that they are unlovable. And those might not be the exact words that they would use. but beliefs that there's something like inherently wrong with them that makes them incapable of having the love that they do ultimately desire. And because of that, there's a lot of self-sabotage in this energy. It feels like this person is trapped in making decisions that sabotage the very thing that they desire. And then I feel like maybe you see that, or you understand that, or you have so much empathy for them, and you know like how they really feel. So it makes you really quick to kind of, forgive and let them back in, or let things go back to how they were or whatever. And that has created, there's kind of two karmic cycles going on over here. It's this person's karmic cycle of the self-sabotaging, and your karmic cycle that you're in of like kind of dealing with it. So I definitely think that there's a lot to break down for sure. But yeah, I definitely think like it's interesting because it's like, it started with that synchronicity card, and I feel like it was really important to understand like this person does like care about you and consider you. The way that they show up in this connection, people don't treat you how they value you. They treat you how they value themselves, right? The way that they show up in this connection has nothing to do with how they feel about you. It has everything to do with ultimately how they feel about themselves, or how they see themselves here. Truth of this connection between Aries and this person. Now, that's certainly not a reason to accept or allow, mistreatment or anything like that, but it certainly can help us not take their actions or their behavior personally, right? Because it doesn't have much to do with us at all. Truth of the connection between Aries and this person. Codependency. You guys have gotten yourself into a little bit of an unhealthy cycle here. Codependency, romance, and unfinished business. And there's a reason for that. The feelings are strong. The feelings are strong. The feelings are there. The passion, I feel like, is really strong too, which is can be very overpowering. And I also feel that this connection does have a lot of potential. I think that there's, a lot of potential that you both see in it. And I think that that's why this is so complicated for you, is because I think that you're sitting here and, there's a lot of frustration with how things have been, how things have played out, how this person has acted. But then there's also a lot of frustration. Like, I feel like that frustration is almost exacerbate. That's a word, right? Like, tripping out. Because of the potential that you see and how good it could be if that potential were reached. So I definitely feel that, I definitely feel that this is complicated, and I feel that there is definitely this need to kind of start to chip away at where this karmic cycle, because when each karmic cycle between a connection consists of two individual karmic cycles, and karmic cycles aren't punishments, they're lessons, they're experiences that we go through to help teach us in some way, to help us grow, evolve, heal, push us closer to the love that we deserve. So let's see what is going on here. Truth of the connection between you and this person. No? Okay. Want one more? So the passion and the intensity. It's so funny how cards kind of validate what I'm feeling. You have allow for time and space, miscommunication, and triggers. The passion and the intensity that exists in this connection is very emotionally heightening, meaning that everything is, I feel like, very 0 to 100 with you and this person. Like, even like arguments are intense. Like everything is just so intense in this connection. And I feel like it makes it really hard for you guys to communicate, for you guys to really reach some sort of like a common ground, because there's just so much here. There's so much feeling, there's so much emotion. And when that's the case, we have to be very careful, because sometimes what happens is we start to lose who we are and what we want in pursuit of the connection and the person that we're dealing with, right? And when that's the case, when we start to lose ourselves, when we start to bend on our needs, desires, and feelings because we're so attached to a connection or to an outcome, that's where we immediately start to get into getting into the territory of, first of all, setting ourselves up for heartbreak, and secondly, and I think that where Spirit's trying to draw your attention to is that isn't sustainable, right? If you're in a place where you're in this experience of, being treated a certain way, or, certain thing, having to put up with certain behavior or whatever, that cycle needs to be addressed. And I feel like that's what Spirit is trying to bring through in this, is that like, it's kind of this energy of like, something's gotta give, like something has to change, something has to shift, because this is not something that, when you're in this space for too long, it can start to affect your mental health, your emotional health, sometimes even your physical health. You can start to find yourself feeling, really sick and really tired because your energy is being so drained. So let's dive into this a little bit more. I'm interested to see how things unfold here. Aries, let's look at your side of this connection, forgiveness with connection. Aries, you're a very loyal person. Loyal, almost like to a fault in a way. Not that loyalty is a bad thing by any means. Knight of Cups in reverse, 7 of Pentacles, 2 of Cups, 4 of Pentacles in reverse. Knight of Swords in reverse. Whoa, okay. 5 of Wands. 9 of Pentacles. 4 of Swords in reverse. 10 of Wands. You're carrying a lot. You're carrying a lot here, and the energy is very heavy. You're in a very difficult space right now, where there's so much love and so much care, compassion and empathy, and so much hurt. There's a lot of hurt here too. This Knight of Cups in reverse is this energy of experiencing, and I kind of said this, but like very emotionally heightened things. A lot. It's the energy of being very triggered, insecurities being brought to the surface. Traumas, fears, things of that nature, and it's almost like this connection is. That word's coming to mind again, exacerbates. I know that's a word, but I'm not saying it right. It brings these things to the surface and makes them feel so intense. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, and I said this already, but you're very loyal, right? You're very committed to this person. And I feel like you have been from the very beginning, like very committed to being what this person needs, what this connection needs. And I really feel like you've poured a lot of yourself into this, and you have for a while poured a lot of yourself into this. And I think that what makes it so challenging is it feels like no matter how much you pour yourself into it, you are continuously dealing with this person's self-sabotage, where it feels like, they're pushing you, like you're doing all this work to make this connection work, and they're like doing all this work to like not, or like to sabotage. And it's almost like they're working against it, even though you know you both desire it. It's very complicated. And I think that it's put you in this position, and I said this already, where it's kind of like you're at this internal war with yourself, where there's so much love, so much desire, but there's also so much pain that it's like, I don't really know what to do. Your soul is hurting right now, and I think that you don't need me to tell you that. I think you know that. But I also feel that there's, so much good. Like, it's not that this connection's all bad. I definitely don't think that's the case at all. But I do feel that it has brought a lot of, it's brought a lot of stress. It's brought a lot of struggle into your life. And all connections, whether they're healthy, unhealthy, no matter what, all connections push us into challenges, right? The challenge comes with every connection. But I think that where we have to start getting a little bit clear on what's happening is, how much are we, my stomach is growling, I apologize for that. How much are we allowing ourselves to suffer, and how much are we losing ourselves in pursuit of being what somebody else needs us to be, right? We have to be very careful of that, because the second we start theself-abandoning to be committed to and loyal to another person in a connection is the second we start to get ourselves in trouble. So I think that this has been a heavy experience. I think that there's been good experiences too. I think that there's glimpses, there's moments where things feel good. But I also feel like there's something that, Spirit's trying to draw your attention to make sure that, you're getting what you need, because you provide so much, but I also feel that you don't get as much back. And that's where things start to feel really imbalanced and unfair and things of that nature. All right, let's look at this person's energy toward you. Trapped with shattered. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, this connection is doomed, but I do feel like again, it's just kind of like something's got to give, because this isn't fair to you. Like, this isn't fair to what it is that you do deserve. Okay, this person's energy toward you, trapped with shattered. And I think you know that. Again, you don't need me to tell you that, but let's look at what's going on here. Knight of Swords, upright. Queen of Pentacles. Eight of Wands. It seems like you're often very blindsided by this person. It's like there's a lack of consistency, or a lack of or maybe it is even consistent, where, I don't know, they do something or something happens and it's like you're kind of on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Here you are. Queen of Wands. Nine of Pentacles. Gosh, there's so much mirroring here, because you both had, well, it was flipped for you, the Knight of Swords, but you had it in reverse, and then they have the Four of Swords in reverse too. Interesting. I'm laughing because it's the thing that's coming through, and it's not as simple as this, but it's almost like this person's, I talked about how your soul was drained from this person's behavior, from the way that they're showing up. They're feeling the same way about their behavior. It's like they're kind of over it too, over how they're acting. This is very classic runner energy. To start with breaking it down, I do feel like this person sees you as somebody who is very stable, someone that they very much can count on, and that's absolutely no surprise because of how just loyal and committed your energy is. And I think that this person often, turns to you or looks for you to be that support for them. And I do feel like you happily step in because of how much you do love and care for them. I feel like you want to be that person for them, but I do see that they see you in a very like respectable light. Like I feel like they kind of, it's interesting. It's almost like they look up to you in a certain way. But there's a flip side of that, because it's like they look up to you in a certain way, but they're also a little bit intimidated by the person that you are and where you're at, like in your life and in your journey. And that brings up certain insecurities for them, where it's almost like you make them feel not good enough. And it's not that you do anything to make them feel not good enough. It's that they do this kind of comparison, and they, sit there and look at how, they're not, able to kind of match up to what it is that you really bring to the table here, which they are, but that might, be challenging for them. That might be pushing them to grow, pushing them to show up differently. And I think that that's something that this person is very much a runner from. People don't often run from us. They run from themselves. They run from, doing the work, looking within, seeing what needs to be addressed and changed. I can tell you, when I met my husband, one of the first things that I felt was like, this man is far too good for me. And I, immediately had this instinct to really mess it up. And I had done that in the past. But luckily I had done enough healing to this point that I could recognize, okay, there are really wonderful things about this person. My job is to show up in a way that honors that, so that I'm not running from how I need to do better. I'm not looking at it as a way that I'm not good enough. I'm looking at it as, okay, I deserve this. What do I need to do to show up for it, right? And getting to that place is really hard. Getting to that place of self-awareness, that place of willingness to grow. It's a lot easier to run from it, especially when it starts to get uncomfortable. And I think that was this person's very immediate reaction here. And, I remember at the very beginning, I said, this person is, deep down, they carry certain beliefs that they're broken or unlovable or not good enough. I think that they've been through things in their life, maybe starting in childhood, maybe throughout, relationships in early adulthood, I don't know, but where they, experienced certain things that taught them that they can't have the love that they deserve and desire. So it's almost like you come around and it starts to really highlight the beliefs that this person has, of not feeling good enough, of not feeling worthy, of not feeling deserving. Now remember, 95% of our movements, choices, and decisions stem from our subconscious. Only 5% of the way that we interact with our reality is conscious level decision making, which means that I'm not saying this person is sitting here going, wow, this person makes me feel unlovable because I have a history of being taught that I'm not good enough. And those fears are that's not what this is about. What I do when I'm reading these energies, when I'm going below the surface, is I'm looking at dynamic, at what's going on below the surface. I try to get into that 95% subconscious energy that we might not be fully aware of, because that's where all the stuff happens for the most part, right? The majority of stuff happens. And I think that this person, it's like they're tired of not having the love that they deserve, okay? They're tired of making the decisions that they do. They're tired of the self-sabotaging. They're tired of, running away from things, but yet they continue to do it. And they continue to do it because it's how they're wired. It's how they're currently wired to show up in relationships and to show up in their connections. Now, one of the things that we have to understand is that desire and capacity are two very different things, right? Somebody can have a desire to love us, but they might not have the capacity to do that well. And when we look for relationships, we have a tendency to look for desire and ignore capacity, even though capacity at the core is what matters the most. And I think that this is where we have to be careful, especially if we consider ourselves to be, I don't love the term empaths because I feel like it's kind of been taken to a whole new level. But when we consider ourselves to be a little bit more empathetic toward others, we have to understand that it's not our job to take on the responsibility of bearing the burden of how they treat us because of where they're at, because of, the things that they've been through. Like, that's not ours to bear. It is not our job to bear mistreatment because somebody else is struggling or hurting. And I think a lot of times we have this tendency to do that, especially when we really love and care about another person. But that is where, our love starts to be more about them and about the person, and we stop caring about our own experience. We become so empathetic about what somebody else is going through that we completely abandon our own experience, because our goal is, how can I make sure this person is loved and happy and safe and healthy? I don't really care about myself. I might be hurting. I might not be treated the way that I deserve, but how can I make this person feel the way that they desire to feel? And when we start to understand that that's happening, we start to see that we're morphing ourselves into who we believe we need to be in order to be loved, whether it's by this person or anybody. And when we start to change who we are, we start to change, to sacrifice needs, desires, and feelings in order to experience what we desire, we will continue to not have it, because the self-abandonment will lead to abandonment outside of ourselves. And I'm not saying this person abandoning you, but every single time they self-sabotage, it's right. It's a point of betrayal. It's a point of abandonment. Now, it's not about you and your value. They self-abandon every single time they make a decision that doesn't align with what's right for the connection, because they desire it too. But I think that there's a lot to break down, a lot of complication here. It's not as black and white, but I also feel like Spirit has a little bit of a warning for you when it comes to proceeding with this connection, or the way in which you are currently proceeding with this connection. Because I feel like, if the more that you allow somebody, because we teach people how to treat us, okay? We teach people how to treat us, and we teach them how to treat us based on what we do and don't accept from them. So if certain people mistreat us, or if they make certain decisions that hurt us, and we say, oh, that's okay, whatever, and we continue on, and we do that over and over and over again, what we're teaching them is, I will always be here, and I will continue to pour into you regardless of how you treat me. And no healthy, sustainable, fair, or reciprocal relationship can be built on that foundation. Because that foundation is essentially saying your needs, desires, and feelings are more important than mine. And that isn't a way to build something that is going to be beneficial for both parties. So I feel like Spirit has a little bit of a warning. I think that this person does love and care about you. But, and I get this question all the time when people want personal readings. It's like, what do they think? What do they feel? What are they wanting? And none of those questions ultimately matter at the core, right? And I'm not saying that your feelings or your curiosity doesn't matter, but the question isn't, do they care about me? Do they love me? Do they, value me? The question is, are they capable of it? Is this person capable and willing to show up in a way that aligns with what I deserve? And that right there, that answer is in their behavior. Somebody shows you what they are capable of, and it is your job to believe it, to let them be who they're going to be, and to let you decide whether or not that's enough for you instead of trying to change it, right? But obviously it can be really complicated when there's strong passion, when there are strong feelings, because it's so much easier to let certain things slide, or to look the other way, or to bury, certain feelings, because things feel so good sometimes. So I certainly understand that, but I definitely feel like Spirit has a little bit of warning for you regarding how to proceed with this, and just to make sure that you're not losing yourself in pursuit of being what somebody else needs you to be, because you need you more. Okay, you need you more. And that's just a really important thing for somebody. All right, we're going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to look at the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. You have romance and codependency. Any information for the extended is in the description box or caption below. Thank you so much, Aries, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Aries.